I'm Stephen Foskett, and this is Cloud Field Day coming to you from beautiful Sunnyvale, California. We are here at the offices of Druva, and we've invited in a panel of independent writers, bloggers, speakers, podcasters to interact and discuss during a presentation of Druva's technology. If you'd like to learn more about this, you can go to techfieldday.com and learn how to become a presenter or a delegate yourself. You can find more videos like this at youtube.com/techfieldday.
So when you log into Phoenix, first thing you see is sites. So the concept of site can be either physical or logical. So it could be really like a country you want to represent as a site, or it could be really an office, actual site, or just a department which you want to save, right? Now, I have 4 sites over here which are representing different regions and all that. What sites help us to do is role-based access control. So admin in one site cannot do anything on the other site at all. Cross-site restores are not allowed, so that way there is a clear segregation into the instance itself. Apart from that, one thing which you have to do as an admin is go and select one of the sites. I'm going to select California 1, and this is where you see the dashboard for your site. Now, what you can see very quickly is, and it's very similar to what you saw in InSync. Keep in mind, all these widgets you see are actionable. So let's say if I see my backups, and if I see why the backups are failing, I can click on it, it will take me to the job, it will show me the error code. So I can take actions as well. So here I see my backups, my restores, my data protection right now, whether all the virtual machines or all the servers in my setup are protected or not. From servers perspective, if I go over here, really quickly, these are my physical servers. Number one thing, you have to go and first register a server. So you will say register new server. You will download the agent, you will install it, you will use a token to activate it. Once activated, you have to go and configure 3 things. Number one is a server group. So you're grouping your like servers. Number 2 is your backup policy, what you want to backup, what you don't want to backup. And number 3 is your retention policy, along with the frequency of backups. How often do you want to backup? Like once a day, twice a day, bandwidth, you can put bandwidth caps, all that. So I'm going to show you all that. Similar to your servers, so you can see all the servers over here, is the VMware piece, wherein you can see the hypervisors which I have. It could be a vCenter or it could be a standalone ESXi environment. So what you do is simply, when you have to download a virtual appliance, which is a OVF file which we provide, download it, boot it up, and register it. Once you register, it shows up over here. You select the virtual hypervisor, and here you are. So you can see all your virtual machines which are configured. Now you can pick any of the virtual machines and configure them for backup. I already have some of them backing up. So when I click on configured virtual machines, I can see what their status is. It includes status around CBT, along the backup, what exactly is happening and all that. You also see the DR configuration. So some of these, like for example, you can see this went through a DR, but it failed because the VM was not valid to be created as a EC2 instance. There must be some configuration which is required, but you can see pretty much what is happening over here. Along with that, as we spoke about the virtual appliance, this is my backup proxy. So it shows me how many VMs are mapped, what's the status is, whether it's connected, disconnected, and all that. I can have multiple backup proxies. So if I have, let's say, 1,000 VMs which I want to backup, one backup proxy cannot definitely scale to 1,000 VMs. You can add multiple backup proxies in a pool. What it does is, it does automatic load balancing. So let's say at a given point of time, you envision like 15 or 20% of your VMs are going to do a backup. The VM is not mapped to a single backup proxy. It can go to anyone based on the load itself. So there's a VM proxy which is already doing, let's say, 10 backups. Then the next one is, let's say, freed up. It will go to the next backup proxy itself. And it's much easier to bring them up, bring them down without any association itself. So there's a one single pool which you can use.
The DR option, is that available in both AWS and Azure?
It's right now only in AWS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So once I have this, from a restore perspective, let me show you the VM piece again. Sorry, I should have clicked. So I can go to any configured virtual machine, pick up the virtual machine, let's say this particular SQL server, and I can click on restore. Now in terms of restores, we offer you 3 options. Number one is a file level restore. So I can browse and I can pick a file, a single file, a couple of files which I want to restore. The second option is a full VM restore. Go restore wherever you want. Same location, it will overwrite. Alternate location, you can pick any other virtual hypervisor, and you can just go and restore there. And finally, the third option is the disk restore, wherein you want to just restore a VMDK. So let's say if a VM had 2 disks, you can restore one of them, and then you can boot it up with a very minimal OS so that you can access the file system. It's not changing anything on that disk, but you can access that disk, and if you want, you can attach it to another VM as well. So those are the restore options available. Any questions? Okay.
Does the product do automated restoration testing?
Yes. So as part of the consistency check, what Dave was talking about, in our cloud, what we do is we randomly pick some restore points, and we just go and pick the one which we think, and we say that, okay, if there is any corruption by the chance, right, if it happens, in that case, we have a mechanism wherein if the block, we'll first try to find if the block is available with any other agent, and we'll force it to send us back again. So that way we can make sure that the consistency is maintained on the cloud itself. Okay. One thing which I wanted to show very quickly was, let me pick the server restore, is the concept of snapshots. So as you see on the left here, you can see hot and warm. Hot is where the data is kept on Cloud Cache, which is your local appliance. You're restoring not from cloud, but from Cloud Cache. Whereas if I go and select a warm snapshot, I'm restoring from S3 itself. There's a third category, which is cold. I don't have any VM in cold right now, but anything beyond 90 days goes to Glacier. So when you're restoring from Glacier itself.
Is that configurable, that duration, or is that
90 days, is that configurable?
No, right now, no.
Is it planned to be configurable?
He can answer it.
I mean, we picked 90 days based on, what we thought was the right threshold, but yeah, we've talked about it. So
I mean, I can see the underlying complexity, right? You got to convert that into which buckets and things, and then convert that.
Correct.
I mean, this is a pay-as-you-go model, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes. And the interesting thing is that pay-as-you-go for the total amount of data, right? So there's no distinction between warm and cold.
Okay.
But overall, it reduces the overall pricing for them. So
I see. So you're telling me that the savings on Glacier is built into the overall price.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
So you were looking at it in terms of if we could configure that to be a shorter time frame in terms of warm storage, we'd save ourselves some money by using more cold? Is that, I was just trying to understand the business driver behind why you wanted to do
90 days, I mean, you're probably never going to restore anything past like 2 weeks, right? So 90 days probably isn't a bad answer to that. Yeah. But if you did for some reason, I mean, and the issue is 4-hour restore times from Glacier, maybe I would want to adjust that. I think for 99.9% of people, I doubt it's a problem.
There just could be special scenarios where you need like one thing to be hot always.
Yeah.
Right?
Because all of a sudden now your RTO for that is whatever plus 4 hours, because that's what Amazon's going to tell you for Glacier. Yeah. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming back to my demo, from a physical server perspective, again, you can go to the configured server list. You can pick up a VM, click on restore. This view is a little bit different because I'm doing a file level backup, so I can go and browse the volumes and select whatever file I want to restore, right? And again,
with the finding of a file, that's often painful because users will delete it and then forget where it was. Do you have a kind of, because you have indexing capability with all of your other stuff, can I search using that kind of indexing?
It's coming pretty soon, so I think we already have that in sync, and it's a question of porting it.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So that's the server piece. Talking about DR, so if you see under manage, there are a couple of things. There is server groups, backup policies, retention policies, the DR policy. But before that, what server group is doing, you're just clubbing the like servers. Let's say you have SQL servers, file servers, VMs, you're clubbing them together because you want to apply same set of policies to them. Backup policies is very simple. What you're doing over here is, let's say I have Linux servers. I'm just selecting what to backup, how often to backup. So this is like when to backup, sorry.
You guys have the same sort of compliance, data leak protection services with Phoenix that you have with InSync?
That is,
so same thing. It's a roadmap item. Again, we're kind of in the process of porting it. So right now, it's the Phoenix is really built on the basic backup, recovery, and DR, where we've built. And these are things that we are looking at over the next 2 quarters. 3 quarters.
So you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
The basic. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. If I remember it all, I'll ask. Okay. I had a question I was going to ask.
So a typical file server policy allows you to select what specific folders or directories you want to back up. It also gives you exclude options. What you also have in your backup policy is the option to select when to backup. You can impose the bandwidth cap, and also you can have automatic retry option available. So if in case it was just a transition network issue, intermittent thing, and you can retry the backups and all that. So that's pretty much the backup policy. From a retention policy perspective, again, this is highly configurable. So you can go in, and let me show you one of them. So here you can select how many days, how many weeks, how many months, and how many years. But do not confuse this with where the data is, because with S3, we keep it up to 90 days. This is more around how you see warm and hot and cold. This is how it manages it, okay?
That was my question. So the search that's coming, is that just going to be, is that across both tiers of storage? Like are you?
Yes.
So you're going to hold all the indexing data for everything that goes to Glacier also? Okay.
It's all held within the DynamoDB.
Right.
So final piece which I want to show you is very quickly is disaster recovery, because there was a question about that. So let's say if I have a DR plan, right? In a DR plan, what I can do is I click on edit. Sorry, not this one. So click on edit over here. So this is where you can specify your VPC. You can also specify
a test.
A failover test. So that is a test. You can just go and boot it and then.
That was my next question. Can you fail back?
Fail back. So Ramlan, all the difficult questions go.
He looked at me like, "Don't ask that question," right?
I think we need to hire you into our our product management team. So that's the next thing that's coming. So right now we can do fail back, but more it's more manual. So we're building the orchestration right now.
Yeah.
But it will sync data back down.
That's right.
I mean, I guess you're just doing a restore at that point, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
So we have done some internal tests. From internal test perspective, it worked, but I think it's something in the roadmap when it comes out. Yeah. Cool. So this is where you update your DR plan, and also what you can see is which are the VMs which have been configured. If you want to add more, you can do that, and then you can see your failover history. So when you fail over, you can see which server failed over, which public IP, what the private IP was, the EC2 instance ID. So you can have that information, take it, and go to your your Amazon console, and then you can browse that server from there, that particular console itself. Jobs, this is very important. So as your backups are happening, your restores are happening, your DR is happening, they are all jobs. So you can go and see the progress, how they have been working out. If there is any failure, you can see. Right now over here, this server backup failed, and then you can see the Phoenix code over here. So it's a specific code. You click on that link, it will take you why the server backup was failing, or whatever the reason was. So you can view all of them over here. So I'm going to show you one last thing very quickly. I'm going to go to all sites, storage, and I know Ramlan has been focusing on this, but all the customers have access to, on per storage region basis, what their total data is, what their incremental data is, so they can view it, they can view their consumption as well. I'm going to stop here. Any questions, if I may answer? Okay.
Let me ask one question that I may have missed. Can you do a restore from the cache appliance?
Yes.
So do I get to set what retention that thing keeps?
Absolutely.
It's up to 30 days, but that's configurable.
So I'm sitting here comparing this to something like a Rubrik Cohesity that I would back up local and then archive up to AWS, against this where I could do a caching appliance and then go up.
That is correct.
And just thinking about that in my head. And so on the cache appliance, I'd back up to the cache appliance. Cache appliance would then do the
sync to the cloud.
Okay, thank you.
So in our case, it's just a cache, right? And it's a virtual appliance. So we don't sell a hardware appliance. It's only software. So technically, the company can just recycle one of their standard servers and just deploy it as a cache.
And I set the size.
Exactly, as a certain size. And as I said, once it's synced to the cloud, which is pretty quick, even if the server goes down, we can always revert back to the cloud. So it's by design that it's dumb. It's a dumb cache, just purely for RTO purposes.
Okay.